you know, when you lose an election, all kind of crazy stuff sort of happens. And you start getting people saying all sorts of stuff and throwing all sorts of stuff out there, and you start seeing this stuff. But then you have just some dumb ideas. I'm talking about dumb, idiotic ideas. And here's one that is, I just can't wait till the panel weigh in. David Axelrod, Democratic strategist, is literally, y'all, literally, go to my iPad. He is pushing for U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago, former congressman, former Obama chief of staff, to become the new chair of the Democratic National Committee. This is what Axelrod said on his podcast. If they said, well, what should we do? Who should lead the party? I would take Ambassador Rahm Emanuel and I would bring him back from Japan. I would appoint him chairman of the Democratic National Committee. So David Axelrod, you actually believe Rahm Emanuel wears one of these? You actually believe that, oh, here comes Rahm Emanuel in his white hat to save the party. The same Rahm Emanuel, when he was chief of staff, told progressives to shut the hell up and stop bringing up all those damn judges. The same Rahm Emanuel, who didn't care about federal judges. All he cared about was the next election and the next bill. Well, guess what? That's one of the reasons why Mitch McConnell froze Obama out of 100 federal judges. Because, see, for Rahm Emanuel, that wasn't important. That Rahm Emanuel? David Axelrod, go sit your ass down. Ain't no way in hell should Democrats even call, text, email, send a pigeon to Rahm Emanuel. Not to lead the party in 2024. When are these Obama people going to learn? This ain't 2008. David Plouffe, Obama made Vice President Kamala Harris hire David Plouffe to get his endorsement. And what did he do? He came in with an backwards strategy that failed. Stephanie Cutter, awful on the campaign. And you actually think Rahm Emanuel is the answer? Not somebody from Wisconsin like Ben Winkler, where, of course, they flipped the state Supreme Court, where they, of course, won last time by 20,000 votes, where they actually have been making some progress. How about somebody from North Carolina, which, if you do the work, that could potentially turn into an actual purple state? How about Rahm Emanuel? Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel. Ava's gone ahead.
And the person that got caught lying about the activities of his police department when he was mayor of Chicago. Listen.
Held the Laquan McDonald tape for 13 damn months.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Forward.
Ava's gone ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Chicago cabal. It is an attempt to, I mean, it's almost like, I hate to say it, it's like their own version of a little mob cabal, crime family. No, just the answer is no. Okay, just sit your ass down someplace. No, the answer is no. It's ridiculous. Sit down, shut up. I am so tired of so many of these folks in the Democratic Party who, first of all, these people who continue to get paid no matter how many failed strategies they launch. And then you have people like Axelrod who want to pontificate about getting his good friend another job that he don't need and isn't qualified for, and it just would be disastrous. So the answer, just for so many reasons, is no. Keep it moving.
Rebecca?
Roland, are you wearing the white hat because Olivia Pope? Is that? I'm trying to figure out the white hat reference here. I was thinking.
Well, I'm wearing a white hat because yesterday I had the blue one. The day before I had the gray one, and so I wanted to wear my white Stetson today. Also because somebody has to come to the rescue and bring some damn common sense to what the hell is going on, because I've seen a lot of people, and I keep getting these texts and phone calls, and I get it. People, and you said it earlier, people need to rest, but people are sitting here, they in grief. Let me tell you something, okay? I ain't dealing with grief. The elections was November 5th. I was ready to roll November 6th. Why? Because there's some critical damn elections coming up in the second quarter of 2025. We ain't got time to be sitting here, okay? And I get it. The election was over. But you know what happened? Them damn Republicans, when that punk ass Donald Trump got beat, guess what? They started planning for the next 4 years, day after his ass lost. And so folk who oppose this evilness that's now happening in our country, this ain't no time to be sitting here licking your wounds. It's time for you to strategize, plan, and get ready to kick some ass.
So look, in 13 days, Mississippi actually has some more elections. There's a Supreme Court Mississippi race, and then there's a Court of Appeals race. And there's 3 HBCUs that are in those districts: Tougaloo, Jackson State, and Mississippi Valley State. So saying all that, yes, there's a lot of work to be done. I do, like I said earlier, I believe in the liberation concept of rest, because we're in for a long fight. But like I said last week to your audience, is bottom line, you know what, Black folks, go home, be selfish. Let these people fight it out. Because if after the shellacking that happened last week, because of the internal BS that happened, the sabotage within the party that happened to stop Kamala Harris from becoming the next president, we've all seen some of the leaked stories. We've seen some of the mismanagement of monies within certain Obama alum within the campaign that didn't direct money, regardless of Derek Johnson saying, hey, we know how to turn out Black voters in key areas. We know where the money should be spent. And those things went unaddressed. Those things went woefully ignored. And in my opinion, intentionally ignored. At this point, Black people, save yourselves. Like we just, at the previous block, we talked about what's going on in Tarrant County. And we talked about those judges. Guess what? In 2026, many of those judges are up for election. Black folks in Tarrant County, 1/3 of voters in Tarrant County are Black. 1/3 is Black, 1/3 is white. I believe 1/3 is Hispanic. Don't rely on the party to save you. Do something about it, because we see that there's lots of issues with those particular judges in Tarrant County. So I definitely hear what you're saying about now it's not the time to go hide, but also people have to go rest, strategize, and then understand that we have to save our own communities. It's not going to be the Democratic Party, because if this is what they're offering us a bunch of BS. Like I said, I trust Black women and I trust some Black men right now when it comes to actually having a fight. But what I don't trust is people doing the same thing over and over and telling us, oh, this is what you need. One thing I remember about Rahm Emanuel is he was well known for sending dead fish to people's offices. We don't need that. This is not the 1990s. This is not the Clinton administration. I would say that for the good of the country, there needs to be some people moving on, but it has to be people who are not feckless. It has to be people who have true strategy and know how to fight. And so far, I'm not hearing from the Democratic Party that they're understanding what the fight is. Instead, they still want to play and say, oh, well, the issue is we didn't talk enough about the economy. The issue is we ignored the working class. No.
Scott,
Yeah,
Roland, Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, I agree with what's been said already. Listen, I'm not into playing the blame game. Every time I read those reports, I shake my head, because that's not going to move us forward as a party or an organization. And I'll be honest with you, has she won? they'd all be experts and be hailed by everyone as winning this election. This election was still close. She didn't win the 7 blue wall states, but each of those races were within the margin of error, 1 to 3 points. And so the pundits kind of had it right. It was like a prize fight where you said, well, this is a great fight at the end, but the losing fighter didn't win one round. You got to win a round. And she just didn't turn the corner on that. Secondly, where's the autopsy report? Before we start talking about who needs to lead the DNC, somebody needs to do an autopsy report politically and say, this is what happened here, including racism, sexism, Latino men, all the economy, what we didn't talk about. Give me an autopsy report and tell us what the plan is going forward. The DNC has the responsibility, or whoever else is involved with the DNC, to just do that, if you will, because naming people to move forward, let me tell you something. Every election is different. We screwed this one up. We talked about personality and character. And you know what? For some reason, America still voted for a criminal versus a criminal prosecution. I don't know who there is to blame, but I know one thing. I don't want to lose again like this. And in 2 years, there's a House race is coming up. And in 4 years, there's a Senate race and another presidential race coming up. What's his name? The current president, number 47, can't run again. So both parties are going to have to reorganize and figure out what their futures are. So I'd like to talk about that planning piece before we start talking about Rahm Emanuel or anybody else that's going to wear a white hat and come in and save us, because can't nobody save us but us, in my opinion.
See, the thing here for me, Avis, when we talk about what happened in this election, it's actually very basic and fundamental. It is. It really is no different than 2016. I remember about 60 days out, 2016, Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, ALC, Phoenix Awards dinner. I'm sitting at the table of Congressman Jim Clyburn, and he had his table guests come backstage. Now, we thought we were going backstage, take photos with Obama. But it was actually photos with Secretary Hillary Clinton. So I had my wife go in front of me. I said, because I'm going to say something to her. So you go in front of her first. We took a picture. And I said to her, Madam Secretary, there is a lot of intensity out there for him. There's not a lot of intensity for you. I said, your team, they're not getting surrogates on shows like mine. I can't book them. I said, and I'm telling you, unless your folks change, I said, and get their heads out of their iPads, meaning stop focusing on the algorithms, y'all gonna lose. You're gonna be a bridesmaid again. So she asked me to talk to Huma and Marlon Marshall. She might take pictures. So I go and talk to them. I'm talking to Huma, she's listening. Marlon Marshall looking at me like he pissed, like he got Maz attitude at me. And I'm like, and he was the highest ranking African American, like deputy campaign chair. I didn't give a shit. I was real clear. Right. I said, y'all are horrible. Y'all not booking black men. I've been asking. They had hired Jameer Burley, they had hired Zelina Maxwell, people who came on my show regularly. They get hired by the campaign to do media, and they don't let them do media. It was the dumbest thing I ever said in the world. So I'm talking to them, and Hillary comes over, and Hillary says, she comes over and she says, well, I don't understand. If Roland's having a problem getting people on his show, I know other people are. And so Huma goes, Madam Secretary, we'll take care of it. She said, well, get it done. And then walks off and went and talked to then Congresswoman Marsha Fudge. That was Saturday night. The next day, 12 hours, I'm trying to get a black male surrogate on the show. I was trying to get Alvin Brown, somebody. I think finally I had to book down in Brazil for Tom Joyner the next morning. And it was the exact same thing. When you look at, this is the thing, when you had 81% white turnout in Georgia, what are y'all always hearing me say? Black people, we have to turn out at a bare minimum of 70% of our capacity. What have y'all been hearing me say on this show? The last two presidential elections, the white turnout was 70 to 72%. They expected, listen to me clearly, everybody, they expected white turnout was going to drop below 70% for the first time in American history in 2016. You know what happened? White people who did not vote turned out higher. What happened in 2020 was a mirage. It was COVID. Democrats made a mistake, Avis, by looking at 2020 as the model. Because it was COVID, we had nowhere to go. You had ballot drop boxes. You had rules that were changed to make it easier for folks to vote. After COVID, Republicans said, nah, we cutting that shit out because we can't have more people voting. It's in the numbers. If fewer people vote, Republicans win. If more people vote, Republicans lose. What happened this year was simple. White turnout increased dramatically in Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada. What happened was Democrat votes dropped. Add in Trump peeling off percentage points in different states and throw in the fact that the Harris campaign was expecting white women, I need everybody to hear me because this is not difficult, y'all. 52% of white women voted for Trump in the last two elections. The Harris campaign anticipated that number was going to drop at least 3 points below 50. What did Trump do? Anticipating that, they went hardcore after men, white men. What was their goal? Charlie Kirk actually talked about it. To add 3% to make up for the women. Why did Harris lose? Trump increased the 3% of men and white women didn't drop. That's the election, Avis. So, Scott, you want your damn autopsy. That's where you are. Now you got to have somebody now go, okay, how do we now, Avis, we now know we can't depend upon white women. White women, you can't depend upon them. How do you now construct a winning coalition knowing full well you can't trust white women, and now you got Trump and these other folks now targeting men from a masculine standpoint and all of that. Go ahead.
Well, sometimes I just wonder, why is the Democratic Party stuck on stupid? Okay, why? The Democratic Party has not carried the white vote since the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And this hyper focus, this hope and a prayer, this wishing on, with your fingers crossed and your toes crossed that maybe this is the year you're going to be able to have increased white people and specifically white women voting for you. How many elections do we have to lose in that same damn way? I mean, are you stuck on stupid? Why? All right. And what's really disturbing to me is a lot of this faulty analysis that's going on right now in terms of the pseudo autopsies that's happening on cable TV. Nobody's talking about what you're talking about, Roland. Nobody's talking about putting together a coalition. They are still stuck on stupid because they're not even looking at the real problem that you just outlined. Instead, they're sitting here saying, oh, well, it was the economy. And then, oh, well, it's wokeness. OK. And when you're talking about those two things, what you're doing is you're letting white people off the hook. You're not really looking at the data in the way that you're talking about. So they aren't even focused right now on trying to put together a coalition. That's not even their focus right now. Their focus right now is trying to, once again, go after this brass ring, this elusive prize of the white vote that they haven't gotten for over 40 years. Good luck with that strategy. The bottom line is, if they don't start to think about how they can invest over the long term in their base, all the way through to the finish line with regards to both persuasion and turnout, they're going to continue to have these winnable elections that they fall short on because they are devaluing the populations that absolutely have the largest likelihood of actually supporting them. and putting too much value in the population that has an increased likelihood of supporting their competitor. It's just completely afoul of common sense.
The thing for me when I talked about how do you focus next, Rebecca, it's very simple. There literally is a state Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. Next year, there are gubernatorial races in Pennsylvania, in Virginia, and not Pennsylvania. New Jersey, in Virginia. You got those races. Those things are going on. You got trying to keep Don Scott as Speaker of the House in Virginia. You got that happening. You've got local races as well. And so that's really where a focus has to be. And so what do? When you lose, this is real simple. You go back to the drawing board and you say, how do I now reconstitute my team? Listen, my Houston Astros have dominated Major League Baseball for the past decade. We've dominated the American League. Went to the World Series 4 or 5 times. Well, we lost in the first round. Okay, rough season all year. Now, what do you do in the offseason? You sit here and you look at your weaknesses, you assess your strengths, you figure out how to improve your team, and then you go out and get ready to compete. So all of this whining and complaining, and as Ava says, I think it's stupid when James Carville and Maureen Dowd and when Morning Joe, they're all whining, talking about, woke and DEI and identity politics. This is a fact, Rebecca. All politics is identity politics. Mm-hmm. Politics is about how do I grab my share of different groups? How do I increase male voter turnout? That's identity politics because you're targeting men. How do you target white men? How do you target Latino men? How do you target black men? How do you target gay men? How do you target straight men? How do you target Christian, evangelical, white, conservative men? How do you target Muslim men? How do you that's just men. All politics is about that. So this sheer stupidity of listening to all of these people complain about identity politics, that literally is all politics. What they are not saying, and just go ahead and say it. Stop talking about black people. Stop talking about social justice. Stop talking about equity. Stop talking about equality. Just talk about how we can talk to white people. I'm sorry, James Carville, Joe Scarborough, Maureen Dowd, Mika Brzezinski, and the rest of y'all, just say it.
Why do we expect those who benefit from a racial patriarchy to end a racial patriarchy, right? I mean, there's all these women talking about they're wearing blue nail polish and blue bracelets to show that they're quote unquote the good ones, at the point that you have to say, hey, I got to identify so you don't think I'm a regular Karen. There's a problem. You know, white people in this country really need to figure it out. And black people, stay home, drink your water, moisturize, relax, and focus on your communities. I'm not saying don't vote, but think through it through a strategy. I also hear what Scott's saying, like we need to see a postmortem. I'm not interested in a postmortem, though, by the would-be strategists. I'm more interested from the political science perspective. I actually want to see some of the data. I want to see which people, which demographics, and where geographically, where people, how people showed up. I also want to do like a heat map on top of that, knowing that there are certain states and certain local jurisdictions where it was harder to vote this year than in 2020. And I want to be able to interpolate that on top of each other to truly understand where some of the trends are. But like I said on another network last week, 2010 to about 2016, the Republican Party went through a civil war. I think it is about time for the Democratic Party to go through its civil war and figure out what it wants to be, who it wants to serve moving forward, because right now it is not a winning coalition, because the people who are making the money decisions in the Democratic Party aren't making decisions based upon what's in the best interest of Black people, which is largely the base of the Democratic Party. So there's a disconnect there. And until that is solved, wash, rinse, and repeat, lose and lose again.
But here's the thing here, and this is what I just keep trying to say, and it's not that difficult, Scott. The blessing of the Democratic Party is also its curse. The blessing is you're a big tent. Your curse, you're a big tent.
Right.
And so, I mean, so from Republicans, there is no big tent. There are no liberal Republicans. There are no moderate Republicans. You're either right, far right. The reality is, in the Democratic Party, you've got your Bob Casey's of the world, senator from Pennsylvania,
Right.
in the exact same party, and you got Bernie Sanders, who's an independent but Democrat. See, it's amazing how you independent, but you got a lot of stuff to say about Democrats. Okay, and so you got that, but it's the same party as who's the crazy ass woman, Kristen Sinema down in Arizona. You got Joe Manchin in the same party, but you got Cory Booker in the same party, and then you've got your California senators. You got Durbin. You got so you got all of that. You do not have that on the Republican side. It don't exist. When they come back, you're going to have Booker, Warnock, Alsbrook, and Blunt Rochester, 4 African Americans in the United States Senate who are Democrat. Republicans, who they got? They got, I can't even say his name because he get on my damn. I know his name. I know his name. But you got him over there. Okay.
The Cosby character.
I mean, so you got so what people have to understand. So what you have is you have all of these competing interests, and so now what you have to do is you have to satisfy all of these competing interests in a party to build a cohesive message. And then you have folk, well, you ain't paying enough attention to us and to us and to us. That's what you have. And whereas Republicans is like, yo, we appeal to white people. The Republican base is white people. And then they say, let's turn out white people, give me a little bit of black, throw some pepper in there, go ahead and give me a little more chili pepper, Latinos, I got that. And you know what? There we go. But they straight are appealing to white people. And when white people make up 70% of the electorate, that's where you have issues because you got to compete for white people. And if you ignore black people because you're trying to go after white people, you damn sure ain't getting us. And we're your number 1 and number 2 voters. That's the conundrum that they're in, which is why it's dumb for Democrats to be trying to attack woke, trying to attack DEI, trying to attack identity politics. Because what they're saying without saying is, I'm talking about black people.
And the idea, the real issue is their privilege, their white privilege. They struggle with being able to say that because at their core, they share white privilege with white conservatives and white Republicans. You know, the Democrats were winning since 2020, 2018, 2020, 2022. So they were somehow able to manage and mold that broad coalition. Just didn't work in 2024 for all the reasons that you gave. And here's a question, Roland. Maybe when you tear it down and when you do that autopsy report, is this broad-based coalition and what our messaging is, maybe in 2024 and beyond, it's not workable. Maybe you embrace the coalition of people of color and the least lost and left out. Maybe you make that your base, mobilize them, and just try to outvote the Republicans' focus on the white voter. Oh my God, white liberals and Democrats would just get sick over that. But that's really been the winning coalition when the Democrats have won, either down ballot or up ballot or at the state level. And so those hard conversations need to take place. But that coalition, including white folks, have got to have an honest conversation with themselves about who they are, but more importantly, who they need to be to win after 2024. Because we're going to have a lot of work to do between 2024 and 2028. But we got to win in 2028 to undo the damage that this country is going to go through under Trump for 4 years. Because remember, Republicans do this all the time. They get a decent economy, the best economy in the world. They screw it up. The Democrats win, and then the Republicans blame us for not fixing their economy as efficiently and as effectively that we received, as efficiently and as effectively as we should. They do it every time. They did it to Obama. They did it to Biden. And now the Republicans have won in 2024. They're going to give us a shitty economy in 2028, and they're going to blame us for not fixing it.
Well, I just think that, and I keep saying this, Avis, I'm going to need white Democrats to go talk to white people. I'm going to need white Democrats. See, all these white Democrats keep talking about, yeah, we got to have conversations. No. I need you to take your ass. I need these white Democrats to take their asses to rural Georgia.
That's right.
And North Carolina and talk to white people. I'm going to come talking to black people. And you also, Avis, have got to just own up to, we're dealing with people who ain't smart. The New York Times did this big story, Avis, on these late deciders and people who are 30 and under. Okay, this is just some of the responses. Pierce, 26 years old, from North Carolina, white, works in sales, didn't vote in 2020. I voted for Donald Trump. I decided after Kamala went on to call her daddy. Wow. Lillian, 27 years old, in Virginia, white, works in digital advertising, voted for Trump in 2020. I voted for Trump and made that decision the same day the mainstream media was having a meltdown after the Madison Square Garden rally. I also saw an ad from Democrats about abortion misinformation that really made me upset. I said, you know what? I'm going to vote for Trump. Everybody hates him. They're lying about pregnancies. Let's just do it. Lillian is a liar. But Lillian also was mad that mainstream media was calling it a hate fest because Lillian,
when it was a hate fest.
Because it was a hate fest because Lillian, yes, you, 27-year-old white Lillian, Virginia, you agree. That's why you didn't see it as a hate fest. All right, let's go to the next one. Jack, 22 years old, from New York, white, underwriter, voted for Biden in 2020. I wrote in Mike Bloomberg. I don't like either top of the ticket. Well, dumbass Jack, did Mike Bloomberg win? Did Mike Bloomberg have a shot? So that was a waste. How about this here? McClain, 25 years old, out of D.C., white, works in the legal field, wrote in Romney in 2020. I shocked myself and voted for Trump. No one tell my family. I was so impressed by J.D. Vance, the way he carried himself and how normal he appeared. I think I became radicalized on the men and women's sports issue. The ad that said Kamala represents they, them, Trump represents you. That was so compelling. While Trump is deranged, I need everybody. Matter of fact, let me just blow this up. I need everybody to see this. While Trump, y'all, this is a quote. While Trump is deranged, he represented normalcy somehow to me.
Oh, God.
No
Avis,
word.
there is no campaign strategy. There's no message. There's no commercial that could have picked. While Trump is deranged, Davis, he represented normalcy somehow to me.
Well, that's true. I mean, let's just call a thing a thing. He's not lying. He's not lying. That is America. That is him. And here's the part where the Democrats really bet on the wrong thing, right? They really focused on this issue about the threat to democracy. You know, there's been research out there that has looked at white attitudes in America and their relationship with democracy. And the reality is that white people who hold racially intolerant views do not want democracy. They don't want it. They see what's happening with our country, with our population, with the whole replacement theory, and they don't want democracy. They no longer want majority rule if they believe that they're not going to be in the majority. And so, of course, the derangement makes sense to him. Of course, Madison Square Gardens is not offensive to her. Of course it's not, because that's not their priority. They do not want this democratic ideal that the Democrats are trying to sell to America and that they want to romanticize that all these white people love so much and want to protect. They don't give a damn about democracy unless they feel pretty guaranteed that they will be in charge. And that's why they do everything possible to undermine democracy with regards to the attacks on voting rights and with regards to all of the shenanigans that will happen. That will happen once this tyrant gets in office. And that's going to be exactly what they voted for, and it's exactly what they want.
Rebecca?
Yeah, and Roland, we keep
wait. Hold on.
Ahead.
Rebecca?
Go right ahead.
You know, to Avis's point, yeah, there are a lot of people who actually want a theocracy. They want their particular white Jesus worldviews to be the law of the land in this country. Even when we think about the foundation of this country, they were fighting a monarch. They weren't necessarily looking for a true representation of democracy. And then they took some of the thought leadership from some of the First Nations, from some of the indigenous people in this country who already had a form of representation government within some of the indigenous nations. They stole it. They took it like, okay, great. This sounds like a great idea. But in reality, that's not really what they wanted. They wanted a republic. They wanted to have a loose confederation of people who weren't ruled by a monarchy. No, to Avis's point, yeah, this is reflective of America. And for people to think otherwise is simply delusional, which is why I'm telling Black people, we got to save ourselves. We got to be our own saviors. We have to figure this out for ourselves, because at this point, it's very clear in America, we only got us.
Scott?
Yeah, but Roland, we keep, Avis is absolutely right, but we keep thinking, whether you're in the Beltway or outside the Beltway, Democrats keep thinking, notwithstanding the laws, that that's not America, that America cares about those issues, that America, but they don't, for the reasons Avis gave. And until we figure out who America really is and tell ourselves, be truthful about it, we're going to keep thinking and acting as if who we want America to be or who America wants to be. But America has always suffered from racism and sexism and misogyny and xenophobia. It has. And we keep telling ourselves, as Professor Glaude says, that we're not, because we don't want to confront, at least white America doesn't want to confront that reality. So they come up with the economy and gas prices and food prices as to why people voted for Donald Trump. No, Donald Trump is a product of America. America is who Donald Trump is. And that's why he got 80 plus million votes. That's a painful reality, that is who we are, not who we want to be. We're not that more perfect union. And that's a big part of why he won in 2024.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase, and we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on StartEngine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.